The night felt unnatural, as if the world itself held its breath in anticipation. Ryudo Kageyama stood alone in the field, the shadows stretching out before him like twisted fingers. The eclipse had begun, the moon consuming the sun, darkening the world in its shadow. He felt it deep in his bones, the pull of the darkness, the ancient power awakening within him. The very thing he had spent his life trying to outrun, the curse, his bloodline's curse. The one thing that had always haunted him. He could feel the shadows stirring, crawling beneath his skin, whispering promises of power, promises of a throne that he was never meant to sit on. No, he thought, gripping the pendant that hung around his neck, I will not become like them. The Shadow King's heir, the one destined to rule over the darkness. It was a legacy, a damnable inheritance that had cursed his ancestors, consumed his father, and now it was coming for him. The wind howled, and Ryudo felt that something was wrong. Something was coming. The curse was no longer just a weight on his soul, it was clawing at him, trying to drag him into the darkness where no light could reach. The shadows around him twisted, shifted, taking on shapes that were too grotesque to be natural. You can't run anymore, Ryudo. The voice broke through the wind like a knife slicing through flesh. It was familiar to familiar. He turned, his heart stopping in his chest. His father stood before him, but not the man Ryudo had once known. This was something else. A hollow figure, his face twisted with pain and madness, eyes wide and empty. His body was consumed by shadows, his form flickering like a dying flame. The curse had taken him, twisted him into something unrecognizable, a grotesque echo of the man he had once been. Father, Ryudo's voice trembled, a mixture of dread and disbelief flooding his chest. Ryudo. The voice was broken, raspy, filled with a sorrow that sent chills down his spine. You can't escape it. You never could. You will become the Shadow King, just like me, like all of us. No, Ryudo whispered, shaking his head violently. I refuse. I won't let it take me. But his father's eyes, black and empty, bore into him with an unnatural hunger. You have no choice. It has always been your fate, your destiny. You were born for this. Ryudo stepped back, his pulse quickening, a sickening knot forming in his stomach. He felt the darkness stir inside him, the shadows itching to break free. They were alive, pulsing, a part of him, gnawing at his insides. You think you have a choice, his father rasped. There's no escaping the bloodline, Ryudo. You're already one of us. The shadows around his father grew darker, more violent, twisting like tendrils, reaching for Ryudo. No, Ryudo shouted, his voice breaking. He drew his sword, the blade shaking in his grip. I won't become you. But the shadows were already moving, and before he could react, they surged forward, binding his arms and legs, pulling him to the ground. The pain was unbearable, 1,000 needles digging into his skin, the darkness seeping into every inch of his body. His breath became ragged, and for a moment, he thought he would drown in the blackness. Lost forever. This is it. The thought whispered in his mind, cold and final. I've lost. I'm becoming them. But in the midst of the suffocating darkness, something snapped inside him. He wasn't his father. He wasn't like them. He was Ryudo Kageyama, and he would not let the curse win. With a roar of defiance, he drew on the power deep within, the shadows writhing around him like serpents. But this time, he was no longer afraid. He summoned the power with all his might, the darkness bending to his will, crushing the shadows that sought to claim him. But as he stood, breathing heavily, his body trembling with exhaustion, the curse whispered again. Louder this time, you are the Shadow King's heir. This power is yours. Ryudo's vision blurred, the ground beneath him trembling, as if the very earth itself was bowing to the will of the shadow. He fell to his knees, the weight of his inheritance crashing down on him. He could feel it, the ancient power that ran through his blood, coursing through his veins like molten fire. The curse had awoken, but so had something else, something more terrible than he had ever imagined. He was the heir to the Shadow King, destined to rule the darkness. But as he tried to control the shadows, he realized the awful truth. This was no gift. The shadows were not his servants, they were his master. His father's twisted figure flickered before him. You think you control it, Ryudo. But the truth is, it controls you. Ryudo clenched his fists, the power surging through him, overwhelming him. I can fight it, he gasped. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. Can I? Suddenly, he heard another voice, soft but cold, emerging from the darkness. A figure stepped forward, Kato, his best friend, the one person he thought he could trust. But now, as Kato emerged from the shadows, His face twisted with the same hunger Ryudo had seen in his father. Ryudo's blood ran cold. "You're too late, Ryudo." Kato's voice was smooth, almost like a lullaby, but it was laced with something else, something darker. "You've always been too late." "No," Ryudo whispered, his voice barely audible. "Kato, you've been with me all along. Why? What is this? What are you trying to do to me?" Kato smirked, stepping closer. "It's not what I'm trying to do to you, Ryudo. It's what you're destined to do. I've been guiding you all along. The shadows have always been a part of you. You were always meant to take the throne." "No," Ryudo spat, his body trembling with the surge of power he couldn't control. "I won't be your puppet. I won't let you drag me into this." Kato's expression twisted into something crueler. "You were never meant to escape, Ryudo. You are already part of the darkness, whether you accept it or not. This power is yours. This throne is yours, and you will rule." Ryudo's heart pounded in his chest, his body shaking with the weight of his destiny, the curse clawing at his mind. He could feel the shadow rising inside him, testing him, threatening to take control. His father's twisted smile flashed in his mind. "Is this what I'm destined to become?" The shadows whispered again. "Embrace it. Become the Shadow King. Claim your throne." Ryudo's blood ran cold. He had fought so long, so hard, to resist the pull of the darkness. But now, as the shadows closed in on him, as Kato's betrayal pierced through his soul like a dagger, Ryudo realized the horrible truth. He wasn't fighting to escape the darkness. He was fighting to survive it. In that moment, Ryudo felt the power inside him surge uncontrollably. The shadows consumed him whole, tearing at his soul, and yet there was a strange calm, a terrible understanding. The throne of darkness was his, whether he wanted it or not. What will Ryudo do now? Will he embrace the throne and his legacy as the Shadow King? Or will he fight back against the forces that seek to control him? The battle has only just begun. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to find out what happens next in Ryudo's bloody journey into the heart of darkness.